We have some major breaking news late this evening as it has been announced that Kyle Larson is pulled out of running the Adelaide Supercar race at the end of the season and will not make his Supercar debut in Adelaide later this year. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel and welcome back to the video. As I just said a second ago, we got some pretty massive and major breaking news late this evening as it has been confirmed by multiple sources that Kyle Larson will not be running and making his Supercar debut at the end of this year. Here's a report by Stefan Bartholomew from SpeedCafe.com. Kyle Larson will set to contest the Supercars event as a wildcard with Permit Air Racing, as well as tackle circuit speedways abroad, a Jason Prime Motorsport sprint car. However, the NASCAR Cup Series champion has now informed key stakeholders that he will not be going ahead at this point. The decision comes off the back of Larson's trouble attempt at the Indianapolis 500 and Coca-Cola 600 double last month, in which he crashed in both races. Larson's decision has come as a shock to those involved in the project, which has been an open secret for some time and was due to be publicly announced last week. This is now the second year in a row, according to this, that we've had drivers from the NASCAR side that were planning to run this wildcard event with the Chevy Top organization. Kyle Busch was originally supposed to do this last year, but unfortunately got abandoned because AAA Engineering, I think it was Airbus at the time, was a team that Kyle Busch was going to be driving for, but Airbus, of course, they switched manufacturers, and AAA Engineering was going to be a team which, of course, Will Brown has done some stuff with College Racing, which has an association with RCR. We were going to see Kyle Busch do it last year, and things unfortunately fell through. And another big thing is that many people thought that Larson would be the perfect candidate for this because of his versatility across categories and disciplines in multiple forms. And Larson downplayed, again, doing the Indy Charlotte double, which we kind of knew at this point. And I think that that is a big reason for it. This is definitely really, really disappointing that Kyle Larson will not be attempting to do this because we kind of even talked about it on the channel earlier today. Larson been talking about this as far back as earlier this week on Saturday. He was in talks and conversations to drive for the top Chevrolet team. But I think a lot happened. Again, I think time commitment is very, very important. And I think right now, especially after what happened in Indianapolis and Charlotte, where Kyle Larson struggled at the Indy 500, did not have a good time in the Indianapolis 500, crashed out of that event. I think that played a major factor into it. And I also think because he crashed at the Coke 600, I just don't think right now that his focus is going to be on other motorsports outside of doing sprint car racing, other forms, especially after the issues. I'd have to think maybe we see him back. I don't know if this is going to mean we're going to see him back out of doing sprint car racing going forward, but that is certainly unfortunate because we've been all wanting to see a driver from the NASCAR side come over to supercars and race in it. You think about a lot of drivers from the supercar world that have come over and raced in NASCAR. Shane Van Gisbergen, prime example, had a lot of success in supercars, 3-time supercar champion. He's won 3 Xfinity races and is now full-time in the Cup Series, had that win in Chicago in his debut in 2023, and I feel like that he's been starting to figure out the ovals very, very quickly. Later this year, Jack Perkins, he's going to make his NASCAR debut in the Xfinity Series with Joe Gibbs Racing at Portland, a guy who's won in the Supercar Series. You've got Will Brown, who's going to drive for College Racing at Chicago, make his first Cup start of the year. You got Brock Feeney, who is rumored to be running a couple races with College Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this year. And of course, you have other drivers like Cam Waters, who are also rumored to be joining on the NASCAR front and race at Chicago with RFK or another team like Rick Ware, who does have an affiliation with RFK Racing. This is really, really unfortunate news that Kyle Larson is not going to be attempting this. And I think, again, it has a lot to do, unfortunately, with what happened at Indianapolis. And I think because of the time commitment, among other things, I think that played a role. But I also think Larson is probably wanting to put all this focus on running the sprint car stuff and run the high-limit event. Because obviously, they're still unknown at this time because you got to remember what's going on there on that time as well. You've got the Chili Bowl Nationals, and Larson is probably going to run the Chili Bowl Nationals again like he did in 2025, and of course, he won the Chili Bowl. So Larson's probably going to be focusing on that, and maybe Larson's going to do the Tulsa Shootout. We don't know at this point, but I am definitely not upset about this, but it's definitely very, very disappointing because it would have been an amazing and incredible story if Kyle Larson did get the chance and opportunity to run the Supercar event. And it sounded like this announcement was going to be coming on the Chevrolet front. But I think, again, because of what happened in Indianapolis, I think that played a major role, unfortunately. And I think because he wants to be fully focused on NASCAR, because we all know NASCAR's not a big fan of the waivers, even though we got to remember, this is going to be happening after the NASCAR season's over. But if he gets injured for some reason, has to miss races, but even though he probably would get a waiver, that could play a major factor. I just don't think it's because Larson's scared, to be honest. I've seen some people saying it's because Larson is scared. I don't think Kyle Larson is scared. I just think he's seen what's happened, right? And he's seen what's happened in recent weeks. And there's all the people talk about what Larson did, because Larson does have a short-term memory. He forgets a lot of things and will forget moments like this. But I think for Larson, there's a lot of other things and other factors that do come into play for this, which is, again, very, very unfortunate, because this is something that we all want to see. We all want to see guys from the NASCAR world go over to Supercar world and race. I think crossover is very, very important for motorsport to succeed. And the fact that Kyle Larson will not make his Supercar debut and is backed out of it, I think that's really, really unfortunate, to be honest. I think it could have been a massive, massive deal, because we've seen it with my analytics in particular. A lot of people watch my SVG videos, and there's a lot of people that would have watched, and I would have covered that. I think it could have been a major, major deal if we had a driver from the NASCAR world go over and race in the Supercar world. I think that crossover is so important, and regardless of who it is, whether it's Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Joe Logano, hell, even SVG going back and doing a start or two, Bubba Wallace, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Preece, maybe Connor Zilisch for that matter down the road, Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez. It doesn't matter at this point. I think the crossover is so important for motorsports regardless of what series they compete in. I think about the Rolex 24 earlier this year when Trackhouse Racing had a car for that. They had Shane Van Gisbergen, Ben Keating, they had Connor Zilisch, and Scott McLaughlin. That was the most popular car from the Rolex 24 early this year, and it brought a lot of eyes into the Rolex 24. Many people tuned in to the Rolex 24 this year in the IMSA for the first time because of Trackhouse being involved. NASCAR involvement is becoming so important. I mean, Supercar people over there have said, and drivers like Will Brown has said, people from Supercars have embraced drivers from NASCAR either coming over and the Supercar guys going over to NASCAR. I think that crossover is so important, and I think it's unfortunate to see something like this is not going to happen. I think down the road we will see Larson maybe do it. I just think right now, because of his commitment toward NASCAR, I don't think that's going to be the case for him to do anything outside of dirt racing, among other things. And again, I think if Larson had had success in Indy and Charlotte on the same day, he probably does this, but I think it's just a lot of commitment, among other things, is so important, because you're going to have to be committed if you want to run a Supercar event. Nonetheless, it's really disappointing to hear that Kyle Larson will not run the Supercar event that was planned in Adelaide. He had a car ready to go, and unfortunately, like I said, Larson will not run, which is a very unfortunate and very disappointing to hear, in my honest opinion. So that is going to be for tonight's special breaking news report on Kyle Larson not running the Supercar event in Adelaide. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go below that and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What thoughts about Kyle Larson not running the Supercar race at Adelaide? Are you disappointed? Or are you not shocked or surprised? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow early morning on the channel, or today when you're watching this, I've got the intros video coming out for this weekend's race at Michigan. Then, of course, tomorrow we're going to have some other content dropping as well. We're going to have the news video drop and talk about this, talk about Cletus McFarland, his rumors around Ram coming back, might be an announcement on that coming later this week. We've also got other stuff to talk about. We're going to have the truck review. We're going to have people like Haley Deegan, Shane Gisbergen, Carlos Kerbush, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Cletus McFarland, Frankie Muniz, Connor Zilisch, Carson Quaffle, Junior Motorsports, Eric Almirold, Chandler Smith, among other things coming out. We got truck race picks dropping this week on Wednesday. We've got cup race picks for Michigan. We got other content dropping very soon on the channel that I cannot wait for you guys to check out. Some great and fun stuff dropping. We've got a silly season update coming out very soon, and I can't wait to share everything I have in store as we get farther into the year. Next week's Mexico City, so I have a video kind of around that coming very soon, and some other potential videos that you'll be seeing on the channel throughout the summer. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.